Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we have the latest on a mass shooting that left at least 4 people dead in Tulsa. And we are learning more about the plans for once historic building in Hazard years after it burned down.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. It's Thursday. I'm Dakota Makris. It's almost 5 o'clock. Good morning to you. Let's take it over to Brandon. Well, Brandon, there's already some drizzling rain in the area, if that makes sense. Drizzling rain. So
yes.
I was walking into the building. No, not a rain jacket on me, one or umbrella. So
yep.
I guess that's the day it's going to be.
I brought my umbrella in when I came in last night, so I was ready for it. But yeah, we had some storms that rolled through, and even one that came through Hazard that probably woke some folks up about 2:30 this morning. It was some heavy rain. It was some rumbles of thunder. So again, we got some of that going on out there. Nothing severe. We'll put that out there first thing. But you see some pop-ups across the region ahead of that frontal system. Now, some visibility issues due to some heavier bands of rain. Harlan and Jacksboro and Monticello below the 5-mile threshold. So just continue to watch those areas out there this morning. Still fairly mild. Temperatures in the 70s at London and Hazard, Jackson and Prestonsburg, Logan too. But those won't move very far today. I think we get into the upper 70s, maybe 80 if we're lucky. We actually tied the record high yesterday at Jackson. Noticed that yesterday afternoon, and you'll see temperatures not nearly close to any records today as we climb, kind of similar to what we did yesterday, but we're going to see those rain chances off and on throughout the region and a few more clouds drift in later today. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, the campus of St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma is a crime scene following the latest in a series of recent mass shootings. Officials say at least 4 people are dead from the incident Wednesday afternoon at a medical building on the campus of St. Francis Hospital. Police say they believe the shooter took his own life. They have not yet released a possible motive for the shooting.
We ask. We're an organization that believes in the power of prayer, and there is nothing more this community could do for us than to pray for the families and the loved ones and the victims of this senseless act.
Well, a White House official says President Joe Biden has been briefed on the shooting. We are told the White House is closely monitoring the situation and has reached out to state and local officials to offer support. Meanwhile, mourners gathered at a church in Uvalde, Texas twice on Wednesday, saying goodbye to a teacher and a student killed in last week's massacre at an elementary school. Robb Elementary School teacher Irma Garcia and her husband Joe were remembered at a funeral mass Wednesday morning. Irma was killed in last week's shooting. Joe died 2 days later of a heart attack. Also being laid to rest was 10-year-old Jose Flores, who wanted to be a police officer someday. His sister Andrea was hiding in another classroom.
What were you thinking while that was happening? You knew your brother was in another classroom nearby.
I was just worried thinking about him.
Visitations were also held for 4 other children on Wednesday. The school district says students and staff will not be returning to Robb Elementary School campus. Well, here in the mountains, the recent increase in food and fuel costs have made it hard for many Eastern Kentuckians to make ends meet, causing them to heavily rely on food pantries for assistance. But as WYMT's Alyssa Williams tells us, many of these organizations are struggling too.
One of several Eastern Kentucky resources dedicated to serving those in need.
If it wasn't for these organizations, I mean, a lot of kids would be going hungry.
Is now in need of some extra assistance too.
Inflation has just about took us out. We just don't have a lot of food to give.
The Water into Wine Food Pantry in Salyersville was created following a 2011 tornado that affected many people in the area. But now the organization is facing a struggle of its own.
Gas prices certainly have impacted our ability to go a long distance to get food in areas such as London and Moorhead and Lexington, because the price of diesel is skyrocketing.
With current fuel costs, pantry workers have reduced pickup trips, causing them to cut their monthly food distributions in half.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. You got these people that need the stuff, and we give them what we can, but it still doesn't carry them until the food stuff comes in.
Even though those with the pantry are working hard to make ends meet, they remain optimistic.
Christians mostly, you have to operate on faith. We have to move forward, not seeing the outcome, but expecting the best.
Through fundraising efforts and donations, Pantry workers hope to continue serving those in need, aiming to turn water into wine for Magoffin Countyans. In Salyersville, Alyssa Williams, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, Vice President of the Food Pantry, Sarah Patrick, says the pantry operates solely by volunteers. She adds that if you want to donate to help them increase distributions, you can stop by or call the pantry. We'll have the pantry's number on WYMT.com. Many of you may remember the massive fire at the historic Grand Hotel building in downtown Hazard back in 2015. Well, after years of sitting empty, the city of Hazard had a structural engineer check it out. Well, he said in his report it needed to be torn down. City leaders say they are sad to see it go, but they will continue to work with the engineer as they are not finished yet with the site.
We're going to have to build a retaining wall and things like that. So he's going to continue to work with us all through that process to make sure that everything is really structurally sound and really stable for anything that we want to do on this land going forward.
City leaders say the site will not sit empty. They plan to open it up to vendors and food trucks, along with using it during music festivals. A grant from the EPA is helping spruce up an Estill County rail yard. The county received $500,000 to turn the 42-acre space into what will be known as the Yard. It's in Ravenna. The rail yard will be a concert venue. It will have other attractions as well, like a restaurant, a railroad museum, and it will offer train rides.
A lot of people have interest in, especially, steam trains. Even, a lot of them never had a chance to actually ride on a train.
Well, when the space is fully operational, it will employ 50 to 75 people. Well, thank you so much for getting your Thursday morning started with us here on Mountain News this morning. When we come back, folks in one part of our region have a new place to go get some cool treats to help them beat this summer heat.
And a big-time cold front moves through today, ramping up our chances for showers and storms, and some of those could be on the stronger side. I'll track those for you in about 3 minutes.